All right, so thanks for coming, everyone. Today is going to be a good meeting. We have Chad Rogers in to speak to us.
No problem.
Feel free to ask any questions you guys have. He'll be giving us a little brief bio on what he does and how he takes control of his business. So let's get started. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me. So I just wanted to start out by saying that when I was applying for private school in the 10th grade, I applied to Crossroads and I did not get in. I was put on the waiting list. So all of you are already up to me on that at your age. So I see some future business leaders, and you guys are making me hungry. Like I said before, you're all eating pizza and salad and everything. So I'm definitely in the mood for food. So let's just get started. I've been a real estate agent now for about 17 years. I got my license when I was 18, so right before college. And in the last 4 years, I've sold over $250 million in real estate. I love what I do. It doesn't feel like work. And I see myself doing it when I'm like 85. If I'm in a wheelchair, I'll just have somebody push me around. I didn't think that I was ever going to go into real estate. I don't know if some of you are experiencing this, but when I was your age, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I just knew that I wanted to be really wealthy. And when I was about 13, I read all these business books like Trump. And around that time, I don't know if you know about the Michael Milken insider trading scandal that was going on, but that fascinated me. And because of that, I thought that I wanted to get into investment banking. So I went to work at Bear Stearns when it was still around, and I learned the stock market and everything like that. But the thing that I didn't like about that was I didn't want to sit behind a desk all day long. And it was kind of boring, even though there was a lot of money going around. So I had to figure out what would keep me really in tune with business and, something that I'd be really passionate about. So my father, who has owned mobile home parks for the last 25 years, said, hey, if you want to work with me, you need to get your real estate license, and you have to get a minimum of a 4.0 GPA, and you have to go to college because there's no such thing as nepotism. So at first I was so upset. I'm like, Dad, how can you do this to me? But I was like, okay, I'm going to prove myself, and I'm going to do this because I'd love to work with my dad. So I got my real estate license right before I went to college at 18. And I went to the University of Denver. And the last year, my dad was like, so, do you want to work with me still? I'm like, yeah. So I moved to Florida, where it's like the capital of mobile home parks. And so I went there, and at first he wanted to put me in a trailer inside the park to live in. He's like, if you want to really get your feet wet, you have to get everything wet. So you're going to live in a trailer. And it was crazy because I get there and I've never seen a mobile home before. So I opened up the door, and it wasn't even connected to any of the utilities, and it was like poof. It's like, I don't know if you understand manufactured housing, but it's preserved in formaldehyde. So when the door opened up in the burning heat of Florida and it was like all over me, I was like, wow, this is not where I want to live. So I ended up moving into a place down the street, but I worked for my father for a month. And I worked in his sales office selling mobile homes. So I knew everything about a mobile home. The single wide started at $19,900. Double wides were $29,900, and triple wides were $39,900. And if you had a triple wide, you arrived. You were like, it in these mobile home parks. You were like the richest everyone was talking about you, right? So you get the point. So a lovely couple came in. They must have been in their 20s. And they're like, we want to buy a mobile home. And I'm like, great. What do you want to buy? Single wide, double wide, or triple wide? Well, we can't afford the triple wide yet, but we like to look at your single wides. So I'm like, definitely. So we hopped into the golf cart. I drove them to the single wide, and that wasn't connected to the utilities. Poof. Just like what I experienced, right? And they look at each other and like, this is bad. I'm like, yeah, you're right. It is pretty bad. And they're like, yeah, this is badass. We want to go and write the deal up. We want to buy it. I'm like, great. And that's when I realized bad actually means good. So we drove back to the sales office and they signed everything. And this is basically my point. They didn't get approved for a $19,900 mobile home. It made me sick to my stomach. Because that's the lowest form of housing, right? I wanted to buy them this trailer. Called my dad. I'm like, Dad, can't we just buy it for them? He's like, well, we wouldn't, be in the business if we were like paying for people's mobile homes. And I felt horrible. So at that point, I realized that I wanted to do something with my real estate license. I just didn't want to be in that business, because look at it like this. If somebody can't afford a $20 million house and they could afford a $10 million house, it doesn't hurt as much me as a real estate agent for somebody that can't afford a $19,900 mobile home. So I went back to college, finished it up, and great opportunity came up with an agent friend of my folks who was looking for an assistant. And she's like, so Chad, what do you expect out of this? I'm like, well, honestly, I need to make at least $36,000 for the first year, or else I can't live and take care of myself the way I'm used to. She says, what happens if I told you that you would make at least $170,000 your first year with me? And when I heard that, I mean, picture this, being 20 years old and hearing somebody tell you that. I don't even think I hung up the phone. I was on the first flight to Beverly Hills to meet with her. And to make a long story short, I ended up working with her. She taught me the business. It was like getting a master's degree. I always recommend working for somebody who's an expert in the respective industry that you want to go into, so you can learn the do's and the don'ts, which are so important, because if you do a don't in real estate, it's a highly litigious industry and your license could get taken away. So that was like, the best experience. And from there, I just worked it, networked. I grew up in LA, so I knew a lot of people already. And in the last 17 years, I've been really fortunate and made a pretty good name for myself. So having said that, I like to open this up to questions that you guys might have. I'm all yours.
You don't have to answer this, but how old are you?
I'm 38. I just turned 38 a few weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's your field in the real estate? What do you sell?
What's my niche?
Yeah.
Okay, so I grew up in a guard-gated community, Malibu Colony. So I know a lot of homeowners behind the gates, and I do a lot of the high-end rentals that start out at anywhere between $75,000. They could go up to $200,000. I just leased a home out a month ago, set a record for that property at $200,000 a month for July and August to the same person. So that was a pretty great deal. And a lot of the people that live in Malibu Colony have those houses for like weekend getaways, but they have primary residences in Brentwood, Beverly Hills. So those residents tend to be much larger, and that brought me years ago to Beverly Hills, Brentwood, and those affluent neighborhoods, and it's been an incredible run. So yeah.
What would you say has been your favorite part of just being in the business? Like, what like drives you to continue to stay in this?
Okay, so it's actually a two-part answer. I love what I do because I feel it's kind of like matchmaking in a way. Instead of setting people up with people, I'm setting people up with their home. And a home is one of the most personal purchases that anyone is going to ever buy. So you become kind of like a part of the family. And I just love being able to, sell something to somebody that they could see, memories in for years and years and years to come. It's a great feeling. And for me, I love working in a business where I'm my own boss. I could dress the way I want to dress. I could style my hair the way I want to style my hair. I mean, I've always beat to my own drum. And that's something that, I want to stress here, that, the hardest part in any business, the world is trying to make you be like everyone else. So when you're true to yourself, anything's possible.
Sorry, I have another question.
Go ahead.
So how does the job for $1 million listing come up, and why did you stop it? And what were the benefits while you were on the show?
How do you know I was on that show? That was years ago. So basically, I had made a name for myself in real estate years ago. And I got a call to be on this real estate show. And I'm like, oh, great, it's going to be all real estate, business, and it's going to be a perfect way to promote my business. I didn't necessarily think that it was going to be kind of like a docudrama in a way. Like, drama is a pivotal word there. And now when I bump into people, they're asking me how my dog is. They know her name. They're like, how's Starla? And they're like, your parents. They asked me about so many personal things. But I signed up for that, and it was a big risk, as if you're going to put yourself out and exploit in any medium. And it proved to be the right decision. It was international marketing at the best level. You wouldn't want to pay for that kind of marketing. If you did, it would be millions of dollars. When I was in Istanbul, I was walking around the Grand Bazaar, and some tourist from Ohio came up to, oh, my husband and I, we love you. How's Starla? How's your parents? I'm like, oh, they're just over there if you want to say hi. But it's been interesting. I wouldn't say that it's for everyone, but for me, it was the right decision.
Being a real estate agent, what does image have to do with it? How you present yourself? Is that a big part in it, or?
I'm glad that you asked that question, because image is probably the biggest part in real estate. I mean, because let's face it, you're really selling yourself. There's so many agents in the city. Raise your hand if you know a real estate agent. Everyone's hand should go up right now, even yours. Okay. Somebody coming in? Hey, you want to play the guitar? Oh, that's actually a really small. So we were just talking about how everyone knows a real estate agent in the city, right? So the thing that differentiates one real estate agent from another is who they are as a person, right? Because like attracts like. So technically, you don't want to be like everyone else. You want to be like you, because when you're who you are, people that are like you will connect with you. You don't want the wrong clients.
All right, well, thanks, Chuck. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.